Now, if you've seen some of my other videos about these graph questions on the digital SAT, very often what I do is I read the answer choices first and just use the chart without the passage to evaluate whether or not those answers are just factually true based on the data. However, now we're in the hard module of the test, and here I find that strategy works a little less often. So you might want to just adjust the strategy based on whether you're in the first or second module and whether you think you're in the hard module for the second one. So here I know it because I've chosen these questions. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to kind of take the whole picture in. So let's go to the question. Let's make sure we know what they want. Which choice best describes the data from the graph that support Martinez and colleagues' conclusion? So the passage is not long. They're just going to tell us what these people's conclusion is. So let's go to the passage now and focus on that. The Jordanelle Dam was built on the Provo River in Utah in 1992. Earth scientist Adriana E. Martinez and colleagues tracked changes to the environment on the banks of the river downstream of the dam, including how much grass and forest cover were present. So far, we have not read any conclusion, by the way. This is just all filler. But now we get to it. They concluded, how convenient, that the dam changed the flow of the river in ways that benefited grass plants and didn't benefit trees. So grass, good, trees, bad, right? I'm going up and down because I can kind of tell from the graph that there's ups and downs, right? The rectangles get bigger and smaller, so I'm thinking about that. So let's see if any of the choices simultaneously match with the data in the graph, but then also support the arrows that I drew here as a summary of that conclusion. So choice A, the lowest amount of grass cover was approximately 58,000 square meters, and the highest amount of forest cover was approximately 75,000 square meters. So I think that those are true. Forest cover in 1987 was about 75,000. That looks right. And grass cover was lowest in 1987 as well. That was 58,000. That looks kind of right too. But so it's true. So put T for true, but it's wrong because this isn't really hitting this conclusion, right? The whole point is that we need a trend. We need things to get, bigger or smaller over time. This is very specifically looking at two moments in time, one for grass, one for trees. How do I think about a trend if I only have 1 point, right? Think about in math when you want to calculate the slope of a line. You need 2 points to do that. We need 2 points here to understand the trend. For each type, grass and trees, we're only given 1 point. So that doesn't make sense with the conclusion that we need to support. B, there was more grass cover than forest cover in 1987, and this difference increased dramatically in 1993 and again in 2006. Okay, so there was more grass cover than forest cover in 1987. Well, no, right? Grass cover is this, forest cover is that one, so that's just false. Right? So this is a good example of what normally is very common on these graph and chart questions, especially in the first module and the easy module. It's more just about reading those lines, and here this just isn't true. So no need to get back to the conclusion. This is just incorrect facts. There was more grass cover than forest cover in 1987. I'm just making sure I'm reading that right because it feels too obviously wrong, but nope, that part's wrong. C, there was less grass cover than bare soil in 1987, but more grass cover than bare soil in 1993 and 2006, whereas there was more forest cover than bare soil in all 3 years. Well, this is a lot. I'm not even going to bother checking it right now. I think it's wrong because why are we bringing in bare soil? That was not part of our conclusion, right? We were talking about grass and trees. So a choice that's going on and on about the bare soil doesn't seem relevant to that conclusion. So it's possible that there are some incorrect facts in this choice, but I'm not going to evaluate those unless I really have to, because this just doesn't feel right with the conclusion based on the passage. So let's look at D instead. Grass cover increased from 1987 to 1993 and from 1993 to 2006. So grass increased. That hits our conclusion. And is that true? Yeah, grass is going up like this. Okay, that looks good. And whereas forest cover decreased in those periods. Is that true? Yeah, forest cover is the black, and that's going down, so forest down. Notice we are supporting that both with the graph, and it's matching the lines in our conclusion from the passage. So yeah, D is definitely the answer. I'm not going to go back to C and be like, oh, let me just make sure. I've got 2 things to care about for this question. The graph has to be true with the chart, with the choice, and the conclusion needs to be kind of similar to the choice. Both of those things are checking off here. I'm confident in that answer. I'm moving on to the next question.